Hey y'all, it's Robert, and in today's video, I'll be showing you how to make a cake that's a giant version of a bomb pop. Before we get started, I want to thank Dell, who is the sponsor of today's video. The Dell XPS 13 Plus is my go-to laptop to do all the editing for the videos I create. It's a powerful laptop, but still small enough to easily carry around, and if you need a laptop that you can take on the go, then this is definitely a great choice. The Dell XPS 13 Plus has an updated design that features USB-C and Thunderbolt 4, which allows you to connect various additions like charging, data, or display. This is a great feature that allows me to connect the laptop to my monitors so that I can increase my productivity. The Dell XPS 13 Plus also has fast storage, which enhances the overall system responsiveness and reduces my loading times. Having a laptop that easily allows me to back up my work and access storage services only ensures that my files are safe and accessible from anywhere. The new completely flush keyboard is also essential because it protects making mistakes that can happen when editing content on a laptop. And the laptop has a touchscreen OLED display, and this is amazing for content creators to have. The extended battery life is especially beneficial for users like myself who need their laptop to last throughout the day when working on videos like the one you're watching right now. So did y'all know that bomb pops were actually flavored cherry, lime, and blue raspberry? Because I thought these popsicles were like all the same flavor. So I only made this cake one flavor, and if I knew beforehand that it was 3 different flavors, I probably would have tried to do that with the cake layers. But I also don't know how those 3 flavors work with the cake, so maybe I did the best option. So before I begin working on this cake, I have to create the base because this cake will give the illusion that it's standing up on a popsicle stick. So I'm going to use a threaded rod and wooden cake boards, and I'm drilling a hole through those wooden boards and then adding the rod and bolts, and this way is going to make sure that it's secure so that I don't have to worry about this cake falling over as I work on it. To keep everything food safe, I'm using aluminum tape over the boards, the threaded rod, and the bolts. I can now start prepping these cakes, so I'm going to level in toward each one. And these are vanilla 6-inch cakes that I colored blue, white, and red so that the inside of the cake will match the outside. After each cake is torted, I'm then going to add plain simple syrup to each of the layers, and this is going to keep them moist throughout the decorating process. Now I can start stacking this cake with vanilla buttercream, and then I'm also going to add more support as the cake gets taller. This is basically a triple barrel cake, so I'm going to use cake dowels and boards to make sure that this cake does not fall apart. I'm using 3 dowels, and I'm making sure that they're cut all the same exact length, and then I'm going to add a cake board before I continue to stack the cake. Now that the cake is all stacked, I'm using a serrated knife to carve the general shape of this cake, and then I'm going to add a crumb coat after all the carving is done. So y'all know I love to use chocolate ganache whenever I'm making a cake, so this one's going to be no exception. So to make the ganache, I'm doing a 3-to-1 ratio of chocolate to cream, and I'm going to make sure that this is all mixed up until it's smooth, and then I'm going to let it cool before I add it to the cake. I'm using a cake comb to smooth out the ganache, but because of the shape and the curves of this cake, I'm also going to use an acetate sheet. Now the base of this cake is complete, so I'm going to move on to designing it, and I'll be using modeling chocolate instead of fondant because I know I'll be adding multiple pieces, and with modeling chocolate, I'll be able to blend all these pieces together. I'm using a smoothing tool to get a uniform layer of the modeling chocolate, and then I'm using a knife to cut those ridges into the cake. And this part was a lot harder than I expected, but I really wanted this to look as clean as possible. Once the popsicle portion of this cake was done, I then had to work on the stick. So I'm covering the rod with piping gel so that the modeling chocolate would stick to it. And then I'm going to flatten out all the modeling chocolate with smoothing tools. To shape the stick, I'm using a knife to cut out the excess modeling chocolate, and I'm making sure that the bottom looks like it is curved. And then I'm going to use a modeling tool to give this part a little bit of texture so it looks like what an actual popsicle stick would look like. The cake is completely modeled now, so I can finally start adding color to it. So I'm going to use an edible paint to do this, and I'm adding a diluter to it so I can get the right consistency I need so I can start painting these colors on. And I'm being very careful when I do this because I want to make sure that there's a clean separation between each of the colors. For the stick, I'm using a light brown color, and then I'm adding a darker brown on top of that using a fan brush, and this is going to help me create a wood grain effect. And the last step is to spray on an edible glaze so that the cake will look shiny, because it would go completely matte when the cake dries, and that wouldn't look like an actual popsicle. So here is the giant bomb pop cake complete. This cake was really fun to make, but it was a lot harder to shape this cake than I initially thought it would be. But I love a challenge, and I still think I did a really good job with this. And if you like this cake, make sure that you like the video, and be sure to subscribe to the channel, and make sure you leave any cake ideas you have for me in the comments below. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next video. Start working on the stick. So I'm covering, what was that? Once the popsicle, so I'm covering the gel. That's not right. It's hot. Oh, I have to turn the air conditioning off to record. And there's light shining in my face. I'm adding piping gel. I just bit my lip. Every time, like what?